Hey, wrestling friends. Welcome to episode 30. 30, really?
30.
Wow, okay. Episode 30 of Suplexes and Microphones. I'm Nate. Over there's Joe. Between us today, we have the main event, Chris Mayne, here to talk with us. Chris, thanks in advance for time with us today, and look forward to getting to know you a little better.
Usually I would go ahead and say, it took y'all 30 episodes to get me on here. 30, but it's a different time at this point, so I'm not going to do the banter that I usually do. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you guys had a little love-hate thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
Yes, it was.
But it was fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. No, it was fun being able to get on and seeing the zings that you gave me. So I'd laugh a lot of the time.
Trying to hold back too much when it comes to that.
Oh, no. You did. There's times I was like, ow. That hurt.
Felt that one out.
Yeah, like right in the feels right there. But no, it's great being here, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Well, Chris, one of the things that Nate and I were talking about on the way up here is I've been able to spend a little more time with you than he has. We visited Dragon Con 2 years ago, had a good time there, and I've gotten to know you a little bit, and I was actually surprised at some of the things I learned about you. So I came up with another feature. This is the first time we're going to do this feature today.
Especially for
just for you. Just for you. And the feature is called Once, Never, Forever. So, once, never, forever. Think about that and make your decisions. And we're going to just lead off with this.
Okay.
WrestleMania, Universal Studios, Dragon Con.
Oh. So, WrestleMania, Dragon Con, Universal Studios.
Yep, that's your choices. Once, never, forever.
I would go with WrestleMania forever.
Okay.
Like, just the epic that is WrestleMania, and being able to go one time, I was like, I gotta go to this again.
Okay.
Universal Studios, that's a once thing, but that's hard because Dragon Con I would go multiple times as well. But if I had to do a never, probably Dragon Con would be my never.
What?
Here's why. Because you get the same kind of feel for Dragon Con at Universal Studios because you have Marvel Island.
Okay.
And you have the cosplays, and you have not only that, but you also have Harry Potter, you have The Simpsons, you have like all these different things. Mm-hmm. And you can at least do that once. Like if you was to choose between Dragon Con and Universal Studios, and it's like you can go only one time, but it's only to one place, I would say Universal Studios.
Okay. And
that sucks to say that because I loved like Joe was there, my nerd full on show that day. I got to the point where I was like, this is getting embarrassing. But yeah.
We were peeling back layers of Chris Mayne that day, and it was shocking to what was under there.
I think when we first walked into the main building where all the merchandise was, and we walked in, the first thing I saw was a Reverse Flash suit. Remember that?
Yeah, the full size is the real deal, yeah.
Nerd out!
It's funny you say that. My next one, for once, never, forever, is Batman, Flash, Green Lantern.
Forever Flash, never Green Lantern, once Batman.
Last one, DC, Marvel, Harry Potter.
Ooh. Never Harry Potter, once DC, always Marvel.
This is why it's my guy right here. All right, moving on.
I mean, if I had to pick, like, my girl's gonna be like, I can't believe you said Harry Potter for never. But Magneto, Wolverine.
I'm in agreement with you, 100%. So let's talk about some of your prior gimmicks. You were known as the main event at one point, correct?
Yes.
And then currently and in the past...
Well, technically, it was more the event because I was not just a main, I was the entire
whole show.
Event.
Yeah. We've seen the Predator gimmick. What other gimmicks have you used prior?
So when I first got into wrestling, I was watching Men in Black. And you remember the part where Will Smith is like, or is that Men in Black 2 is like old and busted, new hotness. Well, I was just coming in. I was like, I'll be the new hotness of professional wrestling, Chris Mayne. So it started off new hotness. And then I went to APW, started getting some buzz there, and I went to Anarchy. Finally got to Anarchy, and Greg Hunter was the guy that came up with the event. And I was like, okay, so like the main event, he's like, no, you're the whole event. Like you're bigger than anything, so you're going to be the event. And at first I hated that name, but it started to stick, and it's like I was coming up with names for it. I was coming up with this persona, and finally I was just like, I'm just going to ride with this. I've done like other little crazy, like just mess around, like I did the Carlos De Niro gimmick when we were doing TWF back in the early days, like when I first started. But that was just to have fun and have a good time. It was like a Alejandro, what was his name? The guy that was the manager for Umaga. It was kind of like that deal, but I was like a wrestler manager kind of deal. And then I did the event, and I did that for most of my career. And then I'll call it a career. I don't call it a career, but people say career, so I'll just use that name. And then I went into the Predator because I started growing my dreads back when I first got back in, and I didn't really want to be the event anymore because I didn't feel like I was that level. And I was like, I want to reinvent myself. And I was growing the dreads, and I was always a Predator fan. And then I like happened to come across this mask, and I was like, well, I'll just be the Predator, and just started developing the character from there and trying to, be what a Predator would be like in wrestling.
Find some prey.
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of leads me into the next sort of subtopic is your gear.
Mm-hmm.
You know very much that I'm a big fan of the reverse flash gear.
Yes.
In fact, you got a pop made of you wearing the gear.
I gotta apologize because I think my son got to it.
It's not looking as clean as it did.
Not even that.
Yeah.
It just disappeared into.
Oh.
It's gone. Like I tried to put it up on like the top shelf, and he rolled a chair over, grabbed it, and it's just been gone. And I'm like, where's me? Where's my pop? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Like I cherished that thing when it. But anyway.
I think you and I had a discussion that if you came out in full Magneto gear, that I would jump the rail and hug you or something.
Yeah.
Has that happened yet?
No.
Okay. What other types of gear have you had created, worn, based on comic characters, movie characters, anything like that?
Well, the reverse flash is the main one.
Right.
Obviously, the Predator with the mask and stuff like that. I've done most of my gear though has been influenced by other wrestlers. So like I did trunks for a while, and a lot of my trunks were based after like Chris Sabin. And I did the singlet, which was Scott Lost. And I've done the full-fledged like zip up singlet like MVP.
Yeah.
So at the time that I was doing that, like all of my influences were coming from wrestling characters and stuff like that. Like I never really went into the movies or anything like that. It wasn't until like later on when I started getting back into comics when I was like, I should have been looking at this all along. And I fell in love with the reverse flash. And I was like, this is my dude right here. Like of all the people that I've seen as villains throughout like cinema and comic books and everything, something gravitated me to Eobard Thawne, and I was like, this dude is awesome. So I went with the reverse flash, but I also wanted to do the Predator because of my dress. So I was like, why don't I do a mashup of both? Two things I love, Predator and reverse flash. So I went with the reverse Predator gimmick. So, and that's where it goes from there.
Yeah,
so,
by far my favorite gear.
So
indie scenes. So we kind of touched on Dragon Con a little bit. Was there anything you saw at Dragon Con that would have inspired you to, if you could create your own gear? Did any cosplays that you said, oh, I should have done that, or I could do that?
Well, we talked about the Magneto one,
sure.
Right? And then, of course, reverse flash is always going to be like in there. I would say Bishop.
Oh,
the Bishop.
You could kill Bishop.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
The Lucas Bishop gear, like any iteration of him, whether it was the black and red or the blue and the classic blue and yellow. Let's see. Trying to think anybody else. Actually, because I love the color green. Green Lantern would have been like maybe doing like a John Stewart Green Lantern. Yeah. But
with Bishop too, with the M, Chris Mayne, that's
and I thought about that too.
Good grief.
Well, like I have a logo for my Twitch account that has the M like on the mask of the Predator.
Yeah.
Like that. So yeah,
that's
I
awesome.
definitely thought about that. But I think Joe Black beat me to the punch. So
did he really?
Yeah, I think he did.
That.
He did the like the scarf with the M and everything. So yeah, Joe Black I think beat me to the punch. Don't quote me on that, but I thought I saw it.
Well, some of your influences we kind of briefly discussed: AJ Styles, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero. Obviously, those guys are great. But when you drop Scott Lost in there, I had to do a little searching on that one because he's a PWG guy and he's been retired for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
So tell me what about Scott Lost, for those of you guys, so any of you wrestling nerds that watch this and like, who is that? Kind of like I do. You got to start watching some YouTube and things like that. Tell us what about Scott Lost drew you to him and what was he? Why was he? I mean, you're naming this guy next to AJ Styles and Chris Jericho and stuff. So.
Why is he
special?
Why is he that guy that influenced me? Well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. When I got into wrestling and I thought maybe I would try to give this a go, AJ was the one that inspired me to want to do it because he's 5'10", 5'11", about my size. So I was like, if this guy can do it. Right. So that was my influence from there. Then I realized Eddie Guerrero, even though he's jacked he's strong, this guy is also pretty short. So those guys gave me the want to, like, all right, a little guy can make it like me, let's go for it. Scott Lost came in, I was just trying to figure out, the event gimmick. And I came across, like, PWG was popping at the time that I was trying to come up with this gimmick, and here comes this guy named Scott Lost. And he's a professional. And the way that I was explained the gimmick, how they wanted me to come across was a professional athlete. But then I spun it as like his professional was a professional hitman, but he was cocky and he was like arrogant, but he had the moves to back it up, and he had the Superman shoulder block in the corner and the Lost in Space elbow drop and these awesome moves that were simple but looked super flashy. So I was looking and I was like, this guy he just got to me for some reason. And I was just like, the way he carried himself, the way he was so confident in the ring and the moves that he did to go along with it, I was like, I'm going to emulate my style after him because he's on PWG, he's getting buzz, but he's not quite out there yet. And I don't want to copy somebody that's on the scene right now. I want to be my own person. So I, pulled a little bit from here, pulled a little bit from there, but Scott Lost was the foundation of what the event became.
All right. So I'm kind of skipping ahead here. I'm gonna switch the order on some of this stuff.
Okay.
I want to talk about your mic skills. Me personally, of all the guys in the South, the indie scene, you're by far on top. You're the king of the mic. And when we've done dream indie teams before, I think Nate and I maybe both picked you to be the manager because we want you to be the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Not that you can't work in the ring.
I appreciate that.
But it's like some of these guys, no knock on anyone, they can work in the ring, but they really struggle when it comes to promos. And when I watch your promos, it's like I believe every word. It's so much emotion and things like that. So give a young up-and-coming wrestler, maybe somebody at Power Metal Wrestling Academy right now, an idea of how you make these promos feel so real to a fan like Nate and I.
Well, I was told by people at Anarchy, like, you want to sell the match, but you got to get out the why you want to do this, who you're doing this to, and what's the significance of why you're doing it. Hit those points. So first you got to believe in what your gimmick is. If you're not happy with your gimmick, figure out what's going to make you happy. Like I said, when I was given the professional athlete deal, I looked at Scott Lost and I was like, well, I don't want to be the typical athlete, black athlete. Why not I be the professional, the professional, but the event. I'm the whole damned event. And when I cut a promo, I want to believe in what I'm doing. And I look at it from a comic book standpoint. Take for example, and I keep saying Magneto, and I'm not trying to like hype you up.
Cater to me, man.
But if you look at the character Magneto is a bad guy for the most part. If you look at his history, but his motivations were all in good faith. So, for instance, when I became champion of Viral, and then they wanted to do the heel switch with me as champion. I looked at what was going on, and I was like, all right, Hex is coming in. I could use the influence of us being friends to garner the hatred I have for him wanting to come after my title and do the flip there and say all along, like, you stabbed me in the back. You're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to celebrate with me, and you called your shot immediately. How would you feel if you just got a promotion and he's trying to torpedo your promote, but Hex was the guy and he didn't do anything wrong. He was just positioned there. But in my mind, I believed and I felt. Those are the things that really put a promo together, feeling and wanting to, get it across that this is how my character feels. And you gotta put the emotion in. So if I'm pissed off, I gotta show that I'm pissed off. If I'm trying to be cunning or if I'm trying to be whatever, I gotta show that. And it's also positioning like the storyline as well, coming up with the right storyline. And even if it's not the right storyline, making it your own. I remember when I was in APW doing a storyline where I was facing Billy Buck, and the storyline was all centered around Billy Buck's hat that was handed down from generation to generation. I thought it was like, what is this? But then Greg and JJ, John Body Johnson, pulled me to the side and was like, we believe that you can pull this off. You just got to figure out how. And they gave me some pointers and everything. I was like, I think I got it. So instead of it just being about me stealing the hat and everything, I turned it into your legacy. Your legacy is going to die. Well, forget this hat.
Your kids won't get it.
Your kids won't get it. Nobody's going to get it because not only am I not going to take this hat for my own, but I'm going to make you incapable of getting it back. Mm. And whether your daddy comes after me, whether your mama comes after me, I will destroy any and everybody to make sure that your legacy dies at the hands of Chris Mayne. And that's like, you have to believe that. Like in character mode, when you're going through like, the emotions and everything, is you have to sell the crowd. You have to sell the crowd on what you're doing. Because otherwise you're just going out there and pretending. Mm-hmm. But if you believe it and you can show it in your face, in the words that you say, it all comes together and people start seeing that character come alive. And it's like, when you come out and you hear that, boom, it's like, that's it. I got him,
Yeah. So the two biggest things I took away from that is make it make sense, even if it only makes sense to you as your persona, and believe it.
Believe it. And I think once you make it, even if it's something that you come up with that doesn't make sense, as long as you present it to the crowd.
Yeah.
As what it is, they're going to bite on it if you believe in it. Because the hardest sell was for that whole run with Viral Pro, like the championship, was making people believe that I was such a, and I hope I can cuss, but an asshole, that I was cheating all the time. But then presenting them the fact of, I've never cheated. Mm-hmm. I just manipulated the situation and made people fall into my lap or into my trap. I never did anything to jeopardize this championship or anything like that. I may have pressed some buttons, and then building that along with the Predator gimmick and believing all of that stuff and putting it into a package and giving it to this crowd to make them hate me. Mm-hmm. To know, like when I came out for me and Hex's match and they were absolutely booing the crap out of me, I was like, the way I presented it was exactly how I wanted it to be. Because they wanted to see me lose. And that's what it's about. Like, you want, as a heel, you want people to, they want you to fail, and as a face, they want to see you prevail under the most ridiculous conditions. That's why John Cena's at the top. Like, the way he presents his character, the way the hustle, loyalty, respect thing, he believes in that. And because of that, he has kids and women and women and children and guys for the most part, believing in that hustle, loyalty, respect, and that through whatever situation he can prevail.
So the second part of this that I want to hit on, because luckily Nate and I have been kind of behind the curtain from time to time because we get here early to do this and things like that. And and Nate can attest to this. We've watched you. They tell you go do this promo, and it's one take. I've never seen you do two. There may have been a time when you've done two. I haven't seen it. And so how are you hitting it just like that to give us goosebumps in one take? I'm assuming in your mind you kind of run through it at least once, but I don't know. Where's that coming from?
It's knowing the storyline, knowing what I need to say at that certain point in time. Because once you get past all right, what are my motivations? Why am I doing this? Get through the gist of putting the character together. The promos kind of come, like for me at least, they come on their own. Because it's like, all right, you just escaped with the title. You got to cut a promo, like you're just getting, bombarded by a reporter. What would you say in that moment? And then I just put myself in that moment and say, all right, this is what I would say. And then I'll try to think of the promo then, or what my mindset would be at that point, and then I'll come up with the promo. Like think of what my mindset would be and then cut the promo. Instead of trying to come up with the words and like, well, what's my motivation for saying this? Like, it's all about motivations. What is the motivation at that point in time? If I'm just walking into a building and I have a big match, what is my mindset there? Like, okay, I got a big match. I gotta face 6, and it's for the title, and he's a monster, and I'm the good guy or the bad guy or whatever the case may be, and then cut the promo. Like, that's just how I've always thought. Because if you don't have motivation, then why, how are you going to cut a promo? In a sense, because it's all about what your character is doing at that point in time, what your character is about at that point in time. So and that's how I've always thought about it.
Well, for you guys that are in training, you just got some secret stuff right there. So just try to apply it.
Like I said, just you got to figure out your motivation for whatever storyline you're in. Whether you're a good guy or a bad guy, or you're in between, like you're doing your slow turn, good or bad, whatever the case may be, what's your motivation? And then how do you want, because of that motivation, how do you want that character to come across? Do you want him to come across as a coward? Do you want him to come across as somebody that's cunning and manipulative? Do you want somebody to be Superman, or do you want to be that underdog character? Whatever the case may be, what's the motivation behind it? And how do you think that person in that situation, the way you want your character to be, would respond? And then go from there. And then you can, pick apart. And it doesn't, I've struggled with promos. It takes time. It's a craft to be able to just cut a promo. I just happen to have the gift of gab. I don't know. I guess it just, over time, just watching great promo, like Ric Flair, Arn Anderson,
yes.
CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, guys like that can get on the mic. The Rock is the king of it. Like Stone Cold, like watching like the Attitude Era and how they sold matches, like, oh my God, it was on another level. Yeah. And that's where I get most of my motivation from. Like,
I've heard it explained like, okay, you have these two guys in the ring, there's the conflict, okay? You have to explain why the conflict is important to you, and you have to also explain why the conflict is important to all those people out there in the audience too.
Yeah.
So, why should they care?
Yeah, it's your motivation. For instance, like, I've always said that I wanted to be the foundation of viral pro wrestling throughout the whole deal, and I was going to do whatever I can to use my brain to make sure. And you turned your back on me. So now, not only do I want to be the foundation of viral, but I want to be the foundation of viral so that I can rub it in your face. Mm-hmm. So I can say that you are here because I built this, and there's nothing you can do about it. So now you have people that hate you because not only did you turn on their favorite wrestler, Not only are you the champion and now you're a bad guy and you're at the top of the the heap, but now you're trying to build a new promotion that is on the rise and you're at the helm. Mm-hmm. And if they succeed and you're still at the helm, it's all because of you. Like, they don't want that. They don't want to have to sit there and get dirt thrown in their face every time. Like, yo, I'm the champion. This is mine, and I built this, and you have to worship me. Like, they don't want that. So, but like I said, motivation and what your character is about. That's where I come from with it. So, but you're absolutely right. It's a conflict between two people. Why do I hate you? Why do you hate me? And why do these people matter in this whole situation? Yeah. Most of the time, in general, just a general, outlook of it, the babyface needs the fans to back him because he needs that extra. And the heel wants to tear everything down because his motivation is total dominance and you worship me. But you put your own spin on it and you cut the promo or you sell the match as such. Whether it's two monsters, it's a monster, if it's the David and Goliath, whatever the case may be, you put your spin on it to make it unique and have people invest. Because you see these storylines constantly, over and over again. But it's the spin that you put on it that gets people invested. So instead of doing the regular, you turned your back on me and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you turned your back on me, but now I'm going to make you suffer because I'm going to build this thing up and to the point where you're going to always need me. So...
I think based on this conversation, you should have directed some failed comic book movies. Put them on the right track. Might have turned out a little better.
Yeah, I would have loved to be a part of Justice League. Jesus Christ, how do you mess up Justice League?
That was really bad.
Honestly, all right, now I know this is way off subject, but let me just say for the record, I've only seen bits and pieces of Justice League, but I knew Justice League was going to be a fail simply because I think DC tried to play the catch-up game instead of playing their own role and trying to figure out. Because, Marvel was already years ahead of them. And then they're like, all right, we got to get on this train. So they started pumping out movies without even getting an idea, a foundation to why we're going to this Justice League thing. And it just blew up. Now, there's been some gems, like Wonder Woman was a gem. And I think that was just, I've seen Wonder Woman, and I thought it was a really good movie. But past that, Aquaman was kind of Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman was hard to watch, and I hate it because I love Batman and Superman. Like, I love their dynamic in comics. Like, they have a very unique relationship because they both, like, Superman is all about the good of the people, and Batman's like, man, these people suck, but I have to protect them because it's it's the best thing for me to, it's best for society, kind of thing. So he has a very negative outlook, and Superman has this just jolly old good, good Boy guy. Scout. Yeah, but they find common ground in the respect that, each of them fight for justice and humanity and everything like that. And on top of that, like, Batman sees Superman for his brawn and the strength that he brings. Not only just his physical strength, but the strength he brings to people. And Superman sees Batman as somebody that is smart and cunning, and he may be rich, but he also is a very human being. Like, he has to play the billionaire, playboy, but in his heart of hearts, he's really a good guy. That dynamic there is awesome, but they just destroyed it. It's just, I don't know what the hell happened. Like,
I don't think they should have messed with that until they did a proper Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Then they could have made that version of it happen because they kind of go head to head in that.
Yeah.
So.
But I didn't mean to go off tangent. You just said failed movies, and I just thought DC.
Oh,
God dang it.
Well,
I think DC.
It's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So speaking of stuff that I'm not familiar with, Caleb Kitchens wanted me to ask you a little bit about Throne Wrestling Federation.
Oh my God.
So, I'm not familiar, but apparently, based on your reaction, you know exactly.
Throne Wrestling Federation was honestly the wrestling show that got me notoriety. And it's funny because it was a front yard wrestling promotion.
Not backyard.
Front yard. All right, so, no, Throne was some of the best times of my life. We were coming, like, I started training with Wrestling for Jesus. I trained at a Christian wrestling company.
Tim Blackman guy.
Yes, yeah. Tim Blackman. And at the time that Throne came around, we were on the outs with them because of, honestly, church reasons. So what sparked it was a video, and it's somewhere in the deep, deep, dark corners of YouTube, and I hope it never comes up, but I'm sure because I said this, somebody's going to find it like, hey, that's the video right there. But we posted a video where we was like, these people are coming at us pretty much like, you're heathens, you're this, that, and the third. And it's like, we just want to have fun. We're wrestling fans, and we're going to party, we're going to drink, or whatever the case may be, but we're not trying to be Satan worshipers, or we're not sacrificing kittens and stuff like that. So we put out this video, and instead of it being an eye-opener, it was an absolute nightmare. It was like, yo, I can't believe you put this video out there, blah, 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 blah. And so we was like, forget this, we'll just do our own thing. I think we had just got a ring, and it was Chase's idea, which is Darkness. What's up, Darkness? But it was his idea to do it, and we was all aboard, and we decided to start, running shows, and we did it at Diadem, or Kevin Reddy's front yard. Well, it started in the backyard, and we was like, no, we got more room in the front. So we started there, and we just started doing these wrestling shows, and little by little. Like, I think the first person that was like big in the scene in the South was Josh Magnum came to the show. And Josh Magnum did the show, and he was like, yo, this is pretty cool, and we was, doing the, drinking and everything, because it was just a big party with wrestling. So Josh, came, and then he started, telling the CWA guys to come, and they started coming, and then, like, through all that, we started getting noticed by David Garrett, and I was one of the first ones. He was like, hey, I want you to come to CWA. But the Throne Wrestling Federation was so much fun. So many good and bad memories. God. My favorite story to tell from that time was when Ken Lee got hot chocolate thrown on his white suit.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, scalding hot chocolate thrown on this white suit, and he no-sold it like a champ. This chick throws hot chocolate on him, and it hits him in the chest, and he just looks down, and and I'm like, oh God, no. And he goes at it, and luckily Dustin Knight was there right next to him, grabs him, pulls him away. And I was like, oh my God, this chick is about to get curb stomped again. But yeah, Throne was awesome times. Like, I miss those days for real. Like, those were when we were really hungry and really wanting to get ourselves out there by any means necessary. So definitely good times. Thank you, Caleb, for bringing up some good memories.
So that's kind of the beginning. Let's talk about the end. You've suffered some pretty rough injuries in the last year or more, and I think you and I talked, and it was kind of one of these nagging things that got really bad.
Yeah.
Where are you at with the injury? And this is going to air long after this viral show tonight, where you've got this match with Six. Some people are calling this your retirement match. I don't know that you've called it that yet.
I'm calling it my get out of jail free card. So to start, back September 30th, 2018, I was doing a show at Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, and I was wrestling in a fatal four-way, and I can't remember who was in the match, but except for one person, and it was Matt Kenway. And Matt, for the record, I do not blame you for this. This is totally on me, and don't feel bad if you see this video, because you're good, you're golden. I would do this move 150,000 times with you and be okay. But I went to the show, and the reason why I say it's not his fault is because I wasn't in the mind frame. I was at that point where when you're on the road, it's either you have to be fully committed or you need to get out. Right. And I was at that point where I was like leaning towards getting out, because nothing wrong with the wrestling, like going to AWE and all that stuff was fun, but I was missing my family. Like I wanted to be home with my kids, you know, and I was constantly gone. Like I was grinding. When I got back into wrestling, I was grinding hard. I was going to, you know, Chicago, and I was going to New Jersey, and, you know, trying to get, you know, bookings in Florida. And, you know, I was just trying to go as many places as I possibly can, going out to Kansas City to try to, you know, rub shoulders and, you know, bump elbows. And after a while, when you're constantly gone and gone and gone, and then your kids are like, hey, when, you know, are you going to leave, or are you going to be home? And then you have to deal with that. And I was just like, man, what am I doing? Like, I want to be home with my kids, but at the same time, I was still like wanting to grind. But just at that point in time, I was torn, and I was just like, man, I don't want to be here. Like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home to my kids. And we got to the show, and I was kind of like, whatever about, you know, I was calling the match, but I was kind of like, yeah, we'll do that. He called it Tombstone. And I was like, yeah, for sure, you know, Tombstone. I know how to protect myself. Get into the match. Match is going well and everything, and then he gets me into Tombstone position, and he drops down, but we had been like going for about a good 15 minutes, so obviously we were sweating. And the way he landed, instead of me going between his legs, I kind of rolled his knees and went down on my neck. Like straight down. Yeah. And to the point where when I came back from the match, everybody's like, dude, are you okay? Like, it was like you like crunched your neck. And I was like, I'm fine. Like, I felt it when it happened, but, you know, I mean, that was the end of my night for that. So I was like, you know, I'll just get back to the back, try to, you know, roll my neck around, whatever. About 45 minutes later, I was in the worst pain I've been in a long time. Like, not since I hurt my back was I in this much pain, to the point where my wife was driving me home, and she was worried because I was sitting in the passenger seat just shaking, like, you know, like, what the fuck is going on? So I went to the doctor. The doctor said I had a severe neck strain or something like that, but I should be fine. But then I had Effie, like, in a couple weeks. So I was like, I got to try to fight through this as best I can. And I hate the fact that I got hurt at that time because of all the people that I was looking for to wrestle at the time. Effie was one. Like, we had been talking about it for months at that point, like from the first time we met. So I tried to do the Effie match, and I can't remember where at what point, but just I took a bump, and it was just like this sharpest pain went from like this side of my neck all the way down the side, and just, it was just terrible. And I was just trying to fight through, but I was like, dude, we got to call it. And I was like, I'm so sorry. So I went back to the doctor, and they did tests and everything. Everything came back fine, but it was like, your muscle is so tight right now. Like, I couldn't move. Like, I was literally like, hey, what's going on, you know? So, and I could not move. Like, I could move this arm probably like this high at that point. That's how tight my neck was.
That's scary.
So I was like, there's got to be something wrong. But they did x-rays. Everything came back fine. It was just, this muscle was just to that point. But I was having migraines and everything. And I started thinking, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And it's not even the fact that I don't love wrestling. I still love doing it, but I love my family more. And that's what it comes down to. You either have to be fully committed, like I said, or you have to, like, even with family, you got to be full-fledged, 100%. This is what I'm going to do, or get out. And I didn't get out in time. And at that point, I was like, I'm just going to rest up and see what happens. And then by the time I started feeling a little bit better, I started thinking again. I was like, I'm just going to chill out. And my initial thought was, I'm going to fade into the sunset and not be heard from again. Like, I wanted to go out like that.
Whatever happened to you?
Yeah, exactly. Whatever happened to that Chris Mayne guy, you know? But then I got a call, and it was like, hey, you know, we know you're on the shelf, but we want to do this match. Would you be willing to do it? And I was like, it's VPW. I'd helped with this company for so long, and they're asking me to come back for this. Why not? And he's like, you'll be facing 6. I was like, even better. Because maybe y'all don't know this, but this is a double quote-unquote retirement. Because 6 is going to be hanging them up. And me and Eric 6 are like best friends. Like, we literally live like 7 minutes from each other. Our wives do knick-knack together, which I think you've been in contact with them about.
Yeah.
Me and we are talking about doing a trip soon, like, just enjoying adult life without the thought of wrestling. So like we're really, really close. And I was like, if anybody I would go out on, on a stage with it would be him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not going to call it retirement. I'm calling it I'm leaving this business because I look at retirement as you made a career out of it. I've been doing it for 15 years, but I never got signed. I never really made big bucks off of it. It was just a passion project, and where I tried my best to try to get where I wanted to be. Didn't quite work out, but I'm not regretful because I'd had a lot of great experiences. And I know if I was just say, hey, coming through, that I'd be welcome with open arms, and I'd be able to chill out and just see the boys and everything like that. But as far as competing goes, like, I got other things I want to do. Mm-hmm. Got a lot of things that I would like to, dabble in and see where it goes. Like, playing video games for people, to see how far that goes. And I would love to be able to, if I ever got the money, open a wrestling school. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Maybe here, because there's nothing really around the Augusta area. Right. Although we have one of the best promotions in this area, held the Southeast right here in Thompson. Mm-hmm. Like to be able to open up something here to funnel talent. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
but yeah.
Well, we're gonna lighten it back up. Nate, you want to ask the Fluff question there?
Yeah, it's a question from a friend of the show, Cody Fluffman. Shout out to a part of a Fluffman. So I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but Tracer X has a cereal box somebody made for him.
I've seen that, yeah.
And so Wheaties has always been known for having athletes on their cover of the cereal box. So if you could pick a cereal box that your picture is on, what would it be?
Smacks.
The frog, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like just being like piecing it up with those frogs.
So would the frog be on there with you, or
or either that or Golden Grams. I would play either. I could play the frog, or we could be doing like the high five.
All right, I like
it. All right, so
that was a good one.
One of the other features that we do is our prior guest will give us a question for you.
Okay.
And usually it's specifically tailored for you. It's not a generic question. We try and avoid that.
Okay.
Our last guest was Wade Adams.
Oh, man. What's up, Wade?
Well, in typical Wade Adams fashion, he gave me 3 questions.
Of course he did. He's an overachiever. Exactly.
So I'm going to go through these, and we're going to actually kind of need to move through these kind of quick. So,
okay.
Wade, you kind of slowed us down here. He says, question number 1, and I'm not sure what made him think of this. Maybe you guys
it's Wade Adams.
Had a match that went south at some point.
Okay.
What signs, feeling, intuition tell you a match isn't going well?
Actually, I don't think. I know we've had matches together, but I don't think we've had a match where it just went into the toilet.
Yeah.
I think we've had like mistakes or whatnot. But intuition, when the crowd is, I can't say when the crowd is sitting on their hands, but when you just don't feel that energy, like because it's either one or two energies for me. It's either if the crowd's sitting on their hands, or if the match is going to where, like, I can't feel the chemistry coming between me and the opponent. Like, that's when I'm like, all right, this is starting. We need to either switch it up or call it. But yeah, that's really the only times, like, crowd's not into it, or if I'm not feeling it.
Gotcha. I would assume the crowd would be the big.
But see, that's a crazy thing, because crowds are finicky nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, you get like the super loud crowd, or you get the crowd that's like, impress me. Mm-hmm. And it's when you get those crowds, unless you're like Tracer X, where you could do flips or whatnot, it's really hard to sell somebody, because they've seen any and everything in wrestling. I'm pretty sure somebody's been shot in a wrestling ring at this point. So,
well, is that also a regional thing? In other words, something that you could get over here and get a good reaction, maybe in North Carolina or some other areas, maybe not as much? Because I've heard other people say that. It depends on the promotion, the location.
Yes and no. I think it does depend because you have like the Northeast that, well, at the time that was and still is really like spot heavy from what I can gather. I think the West Coast is kind of the same way. South is very storyline driven. Mm-hmm. So when you go to these other places coming from the South, you have to really either get into the mindset, all right, I'm gonna have to call these spots, I'm gonna have to hit some big time stuff.
Spot fest.
Or if you're cutting a promo or something, you gotta really knock it out of the park for them to be at least generate some interest. But I mean, I think it just comes down to just going out there and just, putting on a solid match. Because in the end, when you're going to another place, as long as you put on a solid match for the people who matters, and I'm not saying fans don't matter, but like when you're going somewhere new, you're trying to impress somebody to bring you back.
Yeah, promoter.
And that's the fans and the promoter. So the fans may not see what you have to offer, but a promoter might look at it and be like, I think I can use this guy. Right. And then you get back, and then maybe you have that moment where it's like, okay, starting to build some momentum with the fans, so.
Question 2 from Wade. What wrestling move do you do but shouldn't, and why?
I can tell you a move I used to do that I shouldn't have never done that I don't do anymore, but I don't have any real moves. I used to do the spiral tap.
Yeah?
Yeah. And one time I did a spiral tap and landed, like twisted. I was like, I'm never doing that again. But other than that, if I was to pick one move, probably the Lost in Space elbow drop, which I'll probably break out.
Yeah.
Because the only reason why is because landing on your hip as high up as I used to get, I don't know if I can still get up that high, but I used to catch air and then land all shoulder and just like hip and just drive my elbow. Mm-hmm. And when you miss that, I feel like I've broken my elbows like, So yeah, Lost in Space is probably the top one, but it's not really that dangerous of a move, so I would go with spiral tap. I stopped doing that.
All right. Third question, and again, typical Wade Adams fashion. It's a little corny. Why did you stiff Gary Busey, and how did it feel to put Danny Glover over? Obviously, this is a Predator joke here.
Well, I mean, Danny Glover is, Sergeant Murtaugh, man.
It is.
Who can really stiff Sergeant Murtaugh?
He's too old for that, though.
Yeah. But that's even better. This is Mister from The Color Purple. Like, come on, man. I probably should have done it because of that, but come on, man. It's Danny Glover. Danny Glover. Gary Busey's drugged out and crazy.
He's definitely crazy. Moving on to the hot tag. I'm going to explain this. This is almost like a word association, but Nate likes to call it Twitter answers, 140 characters or less.
Okay.
He's going to name names, first thing that comes to your mind, and we'll go to the next one.
All right, the guy that just gave us 3 questions, Mr. Wade Adams.
Burning down the house.
Good. Effie.
Quite possibly the most flamboyant and awesome wrestler I've met ever in the history of ever.
Okay. Our first sponsored athlete, the revolutionary Darius Lockhart.
The future of the Southern wrestling scene.
Okay. Your friend 6.
TwitchCon. He'll know what I'm talking about. TwitchCon.
All right.
Also, another one, Dog Biscuits.
Dropping inside jokes over here.
All right, this next is written this way, but I remember your relationship with this guy here at Viral he was as the creator, and we talk about good promos. This guy's a great promoter, but he at one point called you the poor man's fireman, which really stood up my mind. But give me your thoughts on Coach Mikey.
Coach Mikey is absolutely amazing. Definitely one of the best promo guys / managers / just all around great people that I've met.
You mentioned him earlier with the hot chocolate. Kinley,
absolutely vicious wrestler and proud student of mine.
Okay. All right, so we're on to our 10 count feature. This is basically just a bucket of questions that we can pull from and talk to any wrestler about. So, who would, number one, on the 10 count, I'm going to do 5, the Joel will do 5.
Okay.
Dream match, dead and alive.
Dead wrestler, Eddie Guerrero. Alive right now, probably AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever played any other sports?
Wrestled. I played football, basketball, baseball. I was going to play soccer, but wrestling beat me to that. Like track and field, yeah.
Oh, a lot of different ones.
Yeah.
What'd you play in basketball?
I was a forward, and I did play the 2 guard every once in a while, but I was mostly like the defensive, like the glove, hey, we need to stop this team from scoring, you get out there. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. So this is a question I enjoy. I like talking about food in general. So,
okay.
And this place has so many options, other places do not. So what is your go-to cookout order?
Cookout tray. Hands down.
Yes.
It's cheap.
What you on your tray?
All right, so
what are your sides?
Was it the double burger?
Mm-hmm.
Big
Big double, something like that, with chicken nuggets, onion rings, and either a large tea or a large cheer wine.
See, I like the cheer wine because you can get that everywhere
It's
else.
a huge tea.
Yeah, huge tea. Yeah,
You get a bigger
huge tea. My bad. Huge tea or cheer wine.
So life hack, my daughter orders a huge tea. They just give you the empty bigger cup, and she'll put something
Whatever
else
she
in
wants
it.
in
Yeah.
Really?
It's the same price. So.
Hell yeah. You know what?
Less refills.
Exactly. I'm gonna start using that now.
Yeah. Number 4, what is one thing you would like to see changed in the pro wrestling business? That's our genie in the bottle question there.
Ooh. I wish, and this is never going to happen, but I wish dirt sheets would stop reporting behind the scenes stuff, because it ruins the fantasy of wrestling.
Yeah. Spoiler alerts.
Spoiler
and
alerts,
and all that.
so and so is tailored to be the next champion or whatever, because then people form their own opinions instead of seeing how it's going to unfold, organically. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the reason why Roman Reigns had such a hard time, because, if nobody knew that, Daniel Bryan was, supposed to be the champion and they switched it to Roman Reigns or wherever the case may be with that, I think if he'd have just won it and nobody knew about it, I mean, if you look at the downfall of wrestling to an extent, it's been because of, people knowing what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's no folklore, to it.
Okay.
So yeah.
So this usually has some fun stories behind it. I know at least mine did. So what was your first car?
First car was a Pontiac Sunbird that was owned by my Uncle Mac, rest in peace, Mac. He gave it to me, and the beautiful thing about it was he absolutely loved this car. And I was going to college, and I had never had my own car yet. I was driving my mom's car or whatever, but I hadn't had my own car yet. And he fixed it up for me and gave it to me. He was like, "Hey, take this with you. You can have it for the rest of your senior year, but I'm giving the bird to you." And I was like, "Fuck yeah," because I love this car. It was all black, had no air in it, but I didn't give a damn because it looked sexy, the black with a red streak down the side, and it was just it looked like a Knight Rider car. And I was like, fuck it, I can roll the windows down. Yeah, it's 102 degrees out here and I'm sweating to death, but who cares? I'm looking dope in this car. Somewhere, it's in Alabama somewhere now. I don't know what happened to it. I think it ended up breaking down, and it's a long story after that. I don't even want to get into it because I want to drive to Birmingham and kick somebody's ass for it, but that's besides the point.
All right, moving on. Number 6, pick 2 indie wrestlers to have your back in a street fight.
Jacoby Boykins and Murder One.
I like that.
All right. So with Jacoby, obviously you get a powerhouse, right?
Yeah.
And Murder One's just vicious.
He's just
right?
ruthless.
Yeah.
He's just,
no holds barred at any time with this
man. This man has apparently pulled a gun in a locker room at one point early in his career. He gives no fucks.
Yeah. Aptly named Murder One.
Yeah.
Number 7. Get ready to struggle with this. Pick a superpower.
Wolverine's healing factor.
Okay.
No, take that back. Deadpool's healing power. That's stronger. Like,
do you get to be crazy because of it as well, or? I mean,
honestly, I would take the craziness because, I might look like shoot up bubblegum, but at the same time, though, I'm dope. I can move as fast as I want to because of the healing factors and not having any kind of lactic acid buildup. And he can get shot in the head and have some hilarious montages happen.
That's true. Number 8. Who is the GOAT
Of
wrestling?
wrestling.
In your opinion.
I will always say the GOAT, for the most part, is Ric Flair.
Yes.
16-time champion.
Uh-huh.
One of the greatest promo cutters of all time. Has transcended wrestling, regardless of what anybody says. It's still relevant to this day.
Right.
He's always brought up in rap videos. The Indianapolis Colts, give me 2 claps of the Ric Flair. Woo! Yeah, that. Ric Flair, all day long. And I think he will continue, even after he's gone, to transcend wrestling because of the way, the style and profile. And that mantra that he brought to wrestling, that applies to everything. Ric Flair. Sorry.
I'm with you. Number 9 is what we call lose one. Earlier we did once, never, and forever. This is called lose one.
Okay.
Keep this in mind when you answer this question. When you lose this, you lose everything associated with this. So if I were to say Batman and Superman and you lost one of those, every iteration of Superman, for example, is gone forever. Every movie, cartoon, comic, Justice League never had Superman, however you want to see it.
Gotcha.
So you have to choose between these two. The John Wick franchise or the Dark Knight trilogy franchise, the Nolan series.
Oh, that's just rude, man.
Now you know why I asked you those prep questions.
All right. I would have to go with, and it pains me to say this, the Dark Knight trilogy franchise.
Really?
Because we have Joaquin Phoenix. And I could at least watch that Joker.
Okay.
Past that, the Dark Knight trilogy was great, but it wasn't to to the par of John Wick. Because even still, just from 1 to 3, and then going into 4, you still don't really know. You're still peeling back layers of John Wick. We kind of know the story of Batman, or the Dark Knight trilogy, to an extent. We know that from comic books and everything like that. So
just so you know, all that remains right now is Keaton.
I'm good with that.
And Clooney.
I'm not good with that.
Kilmer.
Kilmer's underrated.
And obviously Ben Affleck. Just so you know, that's the choice you made.
But I can still go back to Keaton.
I agree. 89 Batman's great.
All right, yeah, 89 and Batman Returns. And for the record, let me just say, I've always said this about the Batman. The 2 best Batmans were Christian Bale and Michael Keaton. But Michael Keaton was a better Batman. Christian Bale was a better Bruce Wayne. If you could combine those two, that'd be the perfect Batman.
All right, moving on. Number 10, and this is what we call...
Man. Where are they? Where is she?
This is what we call the envy question.
Okay.
So our prior guest, as mentioned, Wade Adams.
Okay.
If you could take one thing from Wade Adams and make it yours, it could be... Obviously, it's not going to be his promo ability. Nothing against you, Wade. It could be his gimmick.
Great promos, Wade.
He doesn't have merch, as we covered in last episode, so it wouldn't be that. You could take his car, whatever you want, and make it yours. And it doesn't affect him in any way, but you could just
borrow it.
It could be just an ability. In fact, his neck getting hurt right now.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. This is our final question, so think hard.
Wade, I've always admired the Wade Adams strut. When he comes to the ring, like I said, burning down the house, the Wade Adams strut with the with the sweater vest and or the ugly sweater, and he's just the confidence in that swagger. He's just bouncing to the music. I've always loved that. That is one of the main things I love about Wade Adams' character. But just in general, Wade, his ability to lighten the room as well, no matter what the case may be. He can just pop out a one-liner. You just like, you be as mad as you want to be, and you just look at Wade. It's like, God damn it, Wade. But yeah, those are the things I would probably take away from Wade: the strut and his uncanny ability to lighten the mood.
Yeah, as far as the strut goes, Caleb and I have talked about this before. If that guy isn't a Clark Kent Superman, when you outside of the ring,
you
would
he's just
never
very
know.
mild mannered, like
very much.
But at the same time, when the lights come on, just that, and the strut comes out, it's like, yes, that's Wade. That's Wade. Love Wade, man.
And that's all we have.
Well, it's been fun. It's been absolutely fun.
So anything you want to plug? You got Twitch, right?
Yeah, I'm currently doing twitch.tv/Yaucha Mayne, which I will get the spelling for that for you guys. But I usually stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. But it's kind of changed because I'm a part of a competition team for a game called Ring of Elysium. We usually stream scrims at about 9 o'clock Eastern to about 11, but I'm working on that and possibly going to be playing in a tournament pretty soon.
Nice.
Also, Knick Knack Vinyl, that's my wife's thing. They're doing a lot of vinyl shirts, vinyl cups, vinyl everything. Hit them up on Facebook. And yeah, as far as things going on, I'm just preparing for TwitchCon, baby. I cannot wait. San Diego, 2020.
Really?
Yes. Doing a cross country thing too, like going to see the Grand Canyon and stuff like that.
I want to hear that.
Yeah, like I was thinking, like I just want to fly out, but then like we was like, hey, let's get a group together. And I was like, well, then if we're gonna do a group thing, we might as well do the whole.
So what you're saying is you ditched me for Dragon Con this year to do TwitchCon. That's what I'm hearing.
You damn right. It's San Diego, man. It's San Diego. Come on, I still get the cosplays and everything, plus video games and stuff like there's a video game, it's amazing from what I've heard. Ken actually has been going the past couple of years, and he's just glowed about it. So being able to actually go this year is going to be amazing, and I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, we can be found at Suplexes Mics on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Suplexes Mics. Direct link to our YouTube channel. It's tinyurl.com/Suplexes Mics. It all matches. So again, Chris, man, we appreciate you spending time with us today and getting here early.
30 episodes it took. It had to take me like leaving this damn scene for y'all to come and get me. I thought y'all loved me.
I think we made a count though.
Yes, y'all did.
I
can't even be mad at that. It was absolutely a great time, and
your first
better late than never. And I know I did the whole, coming in and slamming my hand and all that stuff. That was all.
I think we'll piece that in right about here, just so we can.
We did have them on, sort of.
Sort of. I kind of like bombed the set.
we paid a lot of money for that spot, for the ad, and then he's kind of interrupted.
But it still turned out to be a really awesome spot.
It got a good reaction.
Yeah,
it did, and that was another one that one take.
Yeah, just like literally walked through the door. Hey, we're going to do this take real quick. Okay, cool.
Okay, 30 seconds later, done.
That was fun though. Like, I mean, we've all like interacted with each other, and a little more with me and Joe, but even with you, like going through the banter that we've gone through, and then afterwards, since I'm not going to be doing this anymore, the afterwards of talking with each other, just it was very fun and very appreciative, and I thank you for that.
So, it was. Thank you.
So it's been fun, been real fun.
Well, that's it. Like I said, you're gonna drop that little clip, maybe right.
Yeah, I'll put that in there, and
you guys can enjoy him kind of booting us out of our own show.
Yeah. I took over. But thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a very, very, very fun time.
Glad to have you, man.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Hey everybody, it's Joe and Nate with Suplexes and Microphones video podcast. We are sponsors for Viral Pro Wrestling's regular shows, and we want you to check our show out.
You can find us on YouTube at tinyurl.com/Suplexes Mics, Facebook.com/Suplexes Mics, Or you can go to Twitter.
I'm sorry. Did I disturb you?
Oh,
How are you doing? What's your name?
Joe.
Joe. Yeah.
and I make.
Okay. Finish what you was going to say. Like, get your plugs out.
Okay. Yeah, twitter.com/suplexes mics and Instagram at suplexes.mics.
Woo! Yeah! Suplexes microphones. Indeed. And all those plugs and everything. And you know what's funny about all those plugs? The fact that Chris Mayne has never been in any of those plugs. Oh, check out Chris Mayne doing an interview at Suplexes and Microphones. Oh no, where are you going? Where are you going? Oh, you don't want the time. Oh, you don't want to interview the champ of your beloved Viral Pro, huh? Well, that's fine. That's okay, because I'll do my own interview. I'll do this right here. Hey, Chris Mayne, how do you feel about being Viral Pro Wrestling Champion? Oh, well, let me tell you, it's such a great honor. I love this company. I love this title that I have on my shoulder right here. I think it's a glorious title, and I think we're doing big things on the back of Chris Mayne. I really do feel like Viral Pro Wrestling is really on the up and up. Well, Chris Mayne, with everything that's going on with Chip Day and Hex, how do you feel about the #1 contendership match that's going to be happening for your title? Well, let me tell you something. I think that maybe they should just forget about Hex and Chip Day. You know why? Because Hex is a hothead that doesn't deserve to be champion. Chip Day is all about the belts, but not about the company. I sacrifice every single time I carry this title around, and it's my baby, because I said that this company will be built on my back, and you people don't appreciate it. Suplexes and Microphones don't appreciate it, but I tell you who appreciates it, I do, and I will do everything I possibly can to make sure that the future of Viral Pro Wrestling stays in the hands of the Predator.